Cast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Well, good Monday morning to you all. I hope you had a great weekend. Thank you for popping in today, whether doing this virtual webinar or on YouTube or on YouTube stream later. You're all very welcome. Thank you very much for making this part of your routine. Yeah, sorry for the slight delay in starting. Just a couple of alterations that YouTube seem to have made to their streaming service, but we've resolved those and we are moving on. So as always, what we're going to do is going to look at some headlines and some detail behind those, and then of course we are moving into looking at some charts to see what the market is telling us, where there may be some charts worth having a look at. Keep on your radar. So all good for me. Thank you very much. Had a good weekend. Cheers, Roger. Good day to you, Brian and Roger and Wayne. Thanks for the heads up on the AB. Good day to Neil and to Mark. You're also very welcome. And thank you for investing the time just to say hello. Always appreciated. Just this important message to kick things off to let you know that this is for educational purposes only. Please make sure you do your own due diligence on anything you see here. Make sure that you follow trading plans and manage risk on entry and exit consistently. Your own personal trading objectives and financial situation. All very important stuff. Right, Lita. Right. Okay. Let's move into the headlines for the day. Of course, on Friday we saw some okay data coming in regarding the PCE. The jobs data wasn't too shabby earlier on. We do have non-farm payrolls not released, despite the fact that it's the first week. It was the first week in December, so that is actually being released. As with a lot of government data, is delayed back end of next week. I think it's penciled in for. But this week's all about central banks, and particularly, of course, the Fed. Who start their two-day meeting on Tuesday, and all culminates in an interest rate decision in the early hours of Wednesday morning our time. Oh, not so early actually on the East Coast. It must be. You'll be able to get up and watch it, perhaps, if you're very, very early birdie. Anyway, that's all it. And we'll have a look at some charts at the moment, show you the record highs. But US futures are sort of tepid when last I looked. Asian markets are struggling to make some gains. The ASX is down about 0.25%. We'll check out those in a bit more detail in a moment. And European futures are pointing to a positive, cautious open. The US dollar index is still looking a bit weak. Fairly near those 1 month lows that lasted last week. We had a little bit of a day on Thursday, I think, to the upside, and then down again on Friday. Gold's paused around key technical level. The only one of the major asset classes that is moving and grooving is copper. That smashed another resistance level, hitting 4-month highs. Oil is mid-range after bouncing off the port last week. Again, we'll check out charts and all of those just so you can see the evidence. Bitcoin remains choppy after that significant recent drop of around about 36%, but it has bounced since. But it is very volatile. We'll check it out. So there's not just the Fed rate cut expected, but the Swiss National Bank decision is due next week. It's the ECB and the UK are releasing their rate decision. So it's all pre-Christmas joy or pain. Depending on what part of the world you're at. The RBA is due tomorrow with no move expected. Almost completely priced in that they're going to pause. Aussie jobs data also due this week. It's quite a start to the week. Not a great deal going on today. If we just have a quick look at what's going on, you can see some data, some credit data coming out of Japan. But the final GDP, that's really a significant move from what was priced in, and for a final GDP number, that's really quite staggering. There's some market movement on that. We'll check it out in a moment. China trade balance tentatively out due today. Not sure the markets will move much to that. We've got some in German industrial production, not a big market mover, but the fact that it's down probably won't serve the German market well. If we look through the week, so we've got that IVA decision tomorrow, 3.6% expected. We've got the ADP There's the ADP report there. That doesn't feel right. Anyway, it says the ADP weekly employment check. They're releasing weekly data now. Maybe that's because the government aren't. We've got CPI coming out of China. We've got the Bank of Canada rate decision also on Wednesday. And then, of course, Thursday, early hours, is the expectation that will be a 0.25% rate cut from the Fed. Quite end of the week, not a great deal going on. Some trade balance numbers coming out of the UK as well as GDP. But as I said, next week it does ramp up again. If we just check out what Asia's doing, you can see they're looking a little bit on the red side. Not much movement in the Shanghai or the Hang Seng. Nikkei is surprisingly soft on the back of good GDP number. ASX just looks as though it's slipping a little bit. Let's have a look at some more. Oh. Okay, that's the first time that's ever happened. On the ASX side, you can see there it's just bimbling around, just drifting down towards the lows of the session. If we look at the sector split, there's only telecom and real estate to the upside. Everything else is looking a bit shaky. So not a great deal to jump up and down about on the ASX, but we'll have a look and see if we can find an individual chart or two. And we'll look at also, this is what happened on Friday in the US. You can see small gains, but really we're more interested in the futures. You can see they're pretty well near neutral, tepid, as I said, on US futures, very cautious on European futures. You can see little buying coming into commodities as well at this stage. Crude oil and gold both looking fairly flat. Copper's pulled back a little bit on the back of just an incredible last week again. We'll check out what the chart looks like in a moment. You can see, if we look at the Forex futures, you can just see the yen's outperforming. USD pretty flat today against most currencies. Bitcoin's continuing its move to the upside on the Bitcoin futures. We'll check out charts right now. I think it's that time. Let's start by looking at Bitcoin, since we've just been talking about it. You can see the positivity in Asia. Thursday, Friday were quite weak, put us back into this range here. But you can see we're retackling somewhere around about 92,000. But we're still very much in a downward trend channel on Bitcoin. So certainly no massive appetite. Possibly some accumulators, but no massive appetite despite that bounce in pushing things forward significantly. Here's the US dollar daily, and I did say that it was pretty close to record highs. That's that line there, around about 6,900. You can see how close it is. We actually got within points of that, 4 points of that on Friday. Nasdaq's just a little bit shy due to some of the rhetoric around AI stocks, but there is buying coming into those, and that's only 1.4%. We may get a little bit of, we may just get a little bit of repositioning, and I'm just going to change this account so we've got the share CFDs to have a look at. Repositioning, etc., and not a massive amount of movement before that Fed rate decision, unless there's something radical happens in the big wide world. Right, okay, let's look at the USD. You can see there the USD is just in this downward trend channel. We've now completely formed this double top formation. Looked as though, as I said, Thursday looked okay. Friday looked as though it was weak today. Could come down to technically towards this 98.45 level. Lots of scanners giving me, go and have a look at this sort of information. Switch those off actually. Gold is actually sort of, we talked a bit about this in the last on the last session on Thursday, that it's stuck in this really tight range, gold, between about 4,200 and 4,230. Still in that range. We've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 attempts to the top and bottom, so the market's not convinced either way. Obviously, whatever the Fed say is going to be translated into the USD. That's going to be translated into what happens to gold. So wouldn't surprise me again to see it to see it move not too far prior to that rate decision. One never knows. Here's copper, as I said, copper on a tear. Every time we put up a new resistance level, it seems to be breached. So this is the one that market's watching now. At essentially 550, we sort of targeted this when we're talking about this breakout here as a potential. You can see the double top there with a confirmation point, which suggests that this is going to be perhaps a stubborn resistance. And you can see just a little bit of that in Asia today. But whichever way you slice it, you've got a really nice line in the sand. A multi-time frame key level. Look on the 4 hourly as well. You can take it back, you'll see that again. Just take it way back. You can see it then, as well as obviously the more recent action. So multi-time frame resistance levels are always really important. They're called resistance for a reason, so it's quite conceivable it might be just a bounce point to come down and retest here. But also, if they do get a breakout, it does tend to make market participants quite excitable in terms of getting eventually in. Keep copper on your radar. Oil looks. The good news with oil is it seems to have broken out of this downward trend channel we're in, and is sitting mid-range between around about 62 and 57, or let's say 58. Looks very uncompelling technically. We'll talk Bitcoin. Let's have a look at some FX crosses. Really, it's not an atypical Monday morning, but you can see there that strength of, let's just put it on the daily chart, that strength in the US yen on the back of that GDP number. We are testing at 150. We've reached 155, nice round number. That's in at 154.95. We have had 2 wicks on the daily chart beneath that level, but it's managed to hold on. But this is looking interesting. Noteworthy perhaps is the low on Friday and Thursday. So unless you're really scalping hard for it's about 38 to 40 pips to be fair. But this is the higher probability move. This will, again, my guess is that's probably, it's multi-time frame again. So for a breach that might encourage market participants short-term potential scalp and move if we break 154.90, say. Because of the movement in between these two lines historically, this might be an interesting one to keep on your radar. If we look at the Aussie yen, you can see there very similar, a little bit of a tip over on the hourly chart, but in context near all-time highs. So reluctant to go short if you're trading against the overall trend. It wouldn't surprise me to see it pull back to here. Right, 102.81, that would technically make sense. As would 103.15 to the upside. Could be stuck in this range for a little while, perhaps. If we look at the GB pound yen, this is looking quite bearish across a number of time frames as well. On the hourly chart here. But it is, look at it in the cold light of day and take that step back a bit. It is looking a little bit sort of range boundy, even though the sellers do appear to be. And if we look at the colored MACDs are something that we quoted last week. Sort of interesting concept. Another story for another day. You can see here 207 to the upside, 206.25 to the downside, mid-range at this stage. Even if we do breach this level or this level, it looks quite noisy. So you really need the longer term range to be tested to the upside. You can see how important 207.27 has been historically, and 206 is probably a good level, being a nice round number again. Markets like. So not cooking there. So certainly, let's just see what the euro is doing. Euro Canadian dollar might look interesting. Big drop in the Canadian dollar. So big drop in the euro, sorry. on Friday versus the Canadian dollar. Now, I just want to check out whether that's. I just want to check out whether that is. Doesn't make assumptions. I just want to see whether it was Friday. Yeah. So general weakness in the euro could be the Ukraine situation. Yeah, I just wanted to check whether that was a euro weakness or a Canadian dollar strength, possibly a bit of both. Taking this out a bit, that was a substantial drop. Difficult to call the bottom of this. It doesn't look perhaps sort of somewhere around about this sort of 160.70 level. Looks as though there's a bit of bouncing going on today, but that's really quite staggering. Let's just have a check out on the Euro USD. So yeah, it looks like Canadian dollar strength rather than anything Euro orientated. Yeah, Canadian dollar strength on Friday. I need to check out why that was. That's taken the Canadian dollar down to multiple multi-month key levels. September was the last time we saw this on the USD Canadian dollar. Just feels as though there might be a bit of a profit taken on this. The next move on this is unclear. Always a big candle, to be wary of big candles, but it is interesting, no, nevertheless. So Euro USD, as I said, is really just noising around possible resistance around about 116, let's say 117. Okay, I'm sort of liking the Aussie dollar at the moment. I think the RBA could be quite hawkish tomorrow in their tone. It's probably worth keeping an eye on Aussie dollar crosses. You can see here this is at 2 and 36. Really nice round number. So you'd be wanting for it to really sort of test it to. You might get a 50 pip move to the downside. Might be worth keeping an eye on this. I actually quite like this as a chart, and with that really big fat round number at this level here, I think that if we get a breach, that's probably technically important from both this breach, which would be multi-time frame, and this. I'll make the GB pound Aussie my chart of the day. Right. Just want to see if I'd put a scanner up here. I don't think I did. Right, okay, let's just do that. Let's just put a scanner up, shall we? Okay. Okay, so these pop-ups coming up. So obviously this is a tool that sort of helps us find things quickly. Maybe setting up. So if we look here, so we're looking for 5 green or 5 red. Jobs on Friday, Canadian African. Thanks, Joe. Right, okay, so Webjet. We talked about Webjet last week, actually. Let's look at the Webjet chart. Still, let's see how quick was that. Still testing this resistance around about 487. With a potential move up to around about that sort of 530-ish level. Looks interesting. As for another one we've been keeping an eye on, this had an earnings bump, a pullback. Don't like this chart. I just think it looks messy in here. It might be difficult with that. Maybe suitable for long-term hold. Iron ore stocks looking interesting today. So you can see that's FMG. We are testing a level on FMG. This looks really quite interesting if we look at where this sits. So this is highs not seen since July last year. Maybe a ceiling on this technically at around about 23.58. So that would be, what's that? It's around about 7%. Should it make it up there? So FMG certainly want to possibly, in fact, to keep an eye on. National Storage and that's doing very well. Check that out. I'll go find the fundamental news on that. We did reference that big jump, and it did pause a little while before it's had the next leap up. That looks so interesting. Worthwhile doing a little bit of research. And BBS is a stock I quite sort of like. Fundamentally, is quite strong. We've got a test of the 200 MA, move to the upside, possibly this level here is of interest. Move to the upside towards that level, pullback, and now we're sort of potentially retesting 475 up to maybe 425, sorry, 495 or $3 on that. And that might be worth keeping an eye on. So there's nothing that's earth-shatteringly good, but there's a few things there that are certainly worth keeping your radar. It's not an atypical Monday. Short side, we haven't got a lot going on short despite the weakness. Retailers have been really under the pump. Actually, JB Hi-Fi. I'll put this on a line chart just so you can take out the noise. You can see there we are testing lows not seen in today's trading. Since it looks like an important level as well. You can see it was resistance here and here. So since May, so 6-month lows on JB Hi-Fi, which pre-Christmas isn't very happy for them. We have tested this level a few times and managed to drag our way back up again. It could potentially, if we do survive this test of the support, there's a resistance here which looks sort of interesting, simply because there's a little bit of an almost straight down move to keep an eye on. So I'll be waiting until again, nice round number stuff. $100 is maybe targeted, and then you can have a look at this. One worth keeping on your radar, as always. A couple of ones from the US, CCL. Just keeping an eye on for see if it can break out of this range. It hasn't done that yet. We've got some money coming into. We like the look of airlines. Been having a look at LUV, and that's breached as we thought it may. So we breached it. This is a really good example of a breakout and retest, and then subsequently we've moved up to around about 35.75 in. Sorry, 35.85 in Friday's trading. Possible move up to towards this this high we hit in July. Keep that one on your radar, possibly. Money's back in semiconductors. There's Micron. AMD have found a nice support. Not a massive amount of buying on here. Obviously, these stocks are really interest rate dependent, so there is an anticipation here that the Fed are going to help grow stocks out. Tesla looks as though it could be moving back towards key levels, and Nvidia are worth a look on as well, just as one of the ones we tend to keep an eye on. As a gauge of AI, you can see there that support around about 174. We're sort of bimbling around between 182 and 174. A breach of that could see us move back up towards 200. Anyway, there we go. That's it for today. I hope that's been interesting. We'll see you back here on Thursday. We'll see some of you in between, of course, for those of you part of other stuff. And I'll be doing a little video tomorrow, pre-fed, just on what to expect and what to look out for, and potentially how to negotiate your way through that decision. And obviously we'll come back on Thursday morning or Thursday lunchtime and see how the dust is settling. So thank you all for being here. Cheers, Rob. Thank you. You guys have a great day. I'll love and leave you. See you soon. Bye bye for now.